garden stores. In 3, 2. Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1235, January 30, 2024. 48 degrees was the record high on this day on 2 occasions, 1879 and 1989. And it was 30 below on this day in 1887. Boom.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Height in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Souchere.
May I just say from the get-go that I had a pang of concern for a guy named Terry Martin. He's a mobster.
Okay.
And he appeared in court in Duluth yesterday, charged with stealing the ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz. Apparently he's been living in Grand Rapids. I think there's a Judy Garland museum there, and he's going to die shortly. He's nearing the end. He was on oxygen the whole time he was in court, and the judge was rather kind to him. Patrick Schultz basically sent him back to his nursing home to wait out his time. And I just had this cartoon bubble of guys calling each other in restaurants out in New Jersey, saying, "Did you see what happened to Martin?" The poor bastard, he broke into the museum. He took the slippers. He thought it was rubies.
Thought he was going to get rich.
It's all they were dime store sequins on them.
You could just from looking at them before you take the hammer to the glass. You go, I don't think those are real rubies.
You know, and the guy's been living a quiet life. He's trying to put the mob life behind him, but he wanted to go out with one last flourish.
Aren't they still worth millions?
Well, they're worth some money, sure,
because of what they are.
Yeah, but this poor guy, he went on the ruby angle.
Are you telling me we've got mobsters in Grand Rapids?
Well, he's retired. He's a retired mobster.
Not active.
Who the hell
Not
moves?
active.
Aren't you supposed to move to Miami?
Well, you would think so.
Or,
he's been
what
living,
do they say in Sopranos? Boca?
He's
Boca.
been living. He's been other than some alcohol-related infractions. He's lived a crime-free life in rural Grand Rapids for more than a decade. He's on home hospice care. Got to take a lot of medication. God bless him. He's going to die.
What is a mob crime in Grand Rapids? Maybe buying up all the town ball tickets and selling them off at a profit?
No. He set the bar. Taking slippers that you think are full of rubies, only they're sequins. So
it's like a comedic version of Fargo.
Godspeed to you, Mr. Martin. I hope I'm not being too kind to a guy who, well, you know what? He must not have any murders in his past.
Don Knotts would have played him in a movie.
Right. In a Hooskow. So I hope he has a peaceful
there's an
end
example of a judge actually showing some decency.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, there's...
Mary would have locked his ass up.
No, he's white. That's right. Yeah, Mary would have locked his ass up. His last ape. He would have not. She would have locked his ass out.
Did you try stealing slippers?
You're not driving today, are you?
You know what, Joe? I didn't want to bring it up, but earlier when you were talking about the Trump estate, you said Mar-a-Lago. It's Mar-a-Lago. So maybe today you have a...
Is today Lisdexic Day?
Mar-a-Lago, or where all Republican genitals are on display in a glass case right when you enter. And the people that rent the place for weddings and reunions, they walk by them and Emmer's name is on there, and everybody's name is on there.
Is the faint smell of formaldehyde present?
They're all in a jar in there, but they're in a locked glass case.
In Laramago.
Gold case.
And then at the bottom there's a sign that said, "This used to be one hell of a country." We had Reverend Tim with us Friday, and he stirred up quite a bit of response, and I boiled it down yesterday. I do want to read the Gumption County deputy's response. I find him a really important correspondent from those who protect and serve.
Sure.
Didn't you read that yesterday?
No,
What
I did
you read
not.
yesterday?
I boiled down all of them yesterday to the one point they all shared, which was Tim is desperate for Republicans to have a hand in some reform here, and we had to point out to him that there aren't any.
All right.
And I can link this to something else. So I very smoothly and professionally, I'm going to go from that almost sounded like Trump, didn't it?
We'll be the judge of that.
Yeah. I'm going to go to something else here. But the Gumption County writes, I just wanted to follow up on Reverend Tim's visit. While I respect the Reverend and his hard work, I found myself at odds with a number of his positions. The Reverend said he could guarantee there is not a cop out there who does not expect to have a problem with a black driver. That is simply not true. I, for one, don't, nor do I know anyone else starting out their stops with that presumption. Every person we encounter is someone's family member, friend, and neighbor, and they deserve to be treated as such. His statements that black people are in the crosshairs of the police and we are looking to rile up black men to have an excuse to use batons on them are beyond disheartening to hear. During every interaction, we try to treat people in the same manner we would want a member of our family to be treated by the police. Even a person who is obstinate is still going to receive professional treatment regardless of their race. The person is a human being and deserves humane treatment. But boy, my life would be so much easier if at the first indication of pushback, I could just get in my squad and leave. One thing I would also like to point out is that most of the people we have problems with are in fact white. This is Minnesota. The overwhelming majority of the population is white, so that should go without saying. And if you've seen on social media videos of the horrible treatment that cops get from everybody,
Yep.
but white women strike me as being particularly obnoxious.
Yep.
Where was I? Reverend Tim mentioned that Republicans and the police must come to the table and first admit that police brutality is a problem. Joe, how can we admit to a problem that is nearly non-existent? The DOJ stats I referred to last week regarding less than 20 instances of police misconduct by the Minneapolis Police Department out of over 1 million calls for service covered the time 2016 to 2022. Nationwide, there are more than 60 million police contacts annually. How many police brutality cases out of those 60+ million contacts last year can you name off the top of your head? How many can you tell me have occurred in Minnesota since the first of the year? The good Reverend said that we should be allowed to taser people who are uncooperative. Well, what he might not be aware of is how we must follow a use of force continuum. That means we can only use force proportional to the resistance we are receiving. In the case of Ricky Cobb, he was only verbally resisting up until the time he put his car in gear. That is why the troopers were trying to talk him out of the car. At some point, the need may arise to put your hands on a person who refuses multiple verbal commands. If they choose to become physically resistant or outright combative, then the taser is an option. Related to suggesting that cops be able to use a taser on someone verbally resistant was his comment expressing disdain for police using rubber bullets on the black community and media. Rubber bullets were used during the riots in response to people throwing rocks, bricks, and cinder blocks at the police, not because they were black. Prior to the rubber bullets being used, the rioters were also given multiple directives to leave the area. While I disagree with Tim, I must repeat, I do respect him as good work and his opinions, pushing back in the name of all that is good, signed the Gumption County deputy. I just wanted to get that out there because I think the deputy is more correct than cops are given credit for. And that dovetails. What's your problem?
Nothing.
Dovetails?
Fitting with the theme today, yes.
Well, you know what? So I've got a few words wrong.
That's like a dove's tail.
Most words have meaning.
Right.
It dovetails.
Yes.
Were you administered medication at your dental appointment this morning?
Not a bit. Just the cleaning. You know, there must be a hell of a turnover in dental hygiene.
I was just thinking that this morning.
Yeah.
Boy, you got your finger on the pulse, man.
Because every time I go to my dentist, the dentist is the same but the hygienist is a new one.
I see. Maybe it's you.
No.
Oh.
The Gumption County deputies
Work with them.
email dovetails nicely into what we discovered last night. If you happen to watch the 5 Eyewitness News, I did. And they had an interview with the fellow who is taking credit for creating that ridiculous sled in Powderhorn Park over the weekend. Apparently they have some sort of artistic sled fest.
Right.
And it was, he created a ding-ding wagon with a cardboard building on it and some ding-ding flames drawn on cardboard sticking out of the top of it. And it was the 3rd precinct on fire. And the crowd that he was playing to apparently thought that was funny. And, well, to Channel 5's credit, they found whoever was responsible for that nonsense. And let me see if I can find you his name. It's called the Art Sled Rally in Powderhorn Park. And let me see if I can find the guy's name. It's funny, we made the thing into a sled. On the other hand, I think there's a real sense that it is something to be celebrated, said Andy Cook, K-O-C-H. Koch.
Koch. They pronounced it Koch on the report.
Andy Koch, the creator of the sled. It's a moment when the tables were turned. Well, okay. Koch explains that the burning of the precinct was a little piece of justice against a system that regularly kills unarmed black people. Well, Koch is lying.
We don't know.
It's a lie.
He was probably in his mid to late 20s, and he just seemed like...
Oh, you saw it.
Yeah, I saw the video.
Yeah.
It seems like he didn't.
Not a bright guy to come up with these conclusions. He's parroting all of the nonsense of the Mysterian left. And I will hand him this. He stood there and admitted that I'm responsible for this. And I think the burning of the precinct is to be celebrated.
Best of luck to him in the next traffic stop.
And then he went on with this quote, during the uprising, the police building where the murderer was from happened to catch on fire. And I think that was a good thing, said Koch. Okay. And then Koch's sled was responded to by Chief Brian O'Hara and others who thought it was appalling. And it is appalling. But what's really appalling is that this fellow is just flat out a liar. There is no, he's complaining about a system that regularly kills unarmed black people. That's not happening.
No.
You're lying, kid, and you're a liar. So when you lie, you get to be called a liar.
I don't think he is a liar, but I think he's stupid because he probably actually believes that. So I think in his mind, he's not lying. He's
my perspective is a little
ill-informed.
different. Yeah, a little different from yours, Joe. I think I'm on the bus there with John.
But
when I saw the image, it upset me. And when I saw people cheering and laughing, that also upset me. And then when the poor kid was interviewed, I said, oh, okay. All right. This poor guy's, it's like being mad at Greta Thunberg. He's either been huffing exhaust or paint, or he was just born a complete bleeping idiot. I don't know what his deal is, but he's not right in the head. And to get mad at somebody like that, it's like getting mad at Rain Man. You can't get mad at Rain Man.
Well,
he's just an idiot.
Yeah.
Your reaction is certainly different than mine.
He's just a dummy, and it's
possibly a product of the failed academy. We
The
don't
pig
know.
thing,
I wanted
the pig thing went too far, though, Kenny.
Yeah, there's the pigs on there, but again, he's an idiot, and I want to disagree with Chris, who said good luck on your next traffic stop. I was more concerned to the fact that, this isn't going to stop him from getting carjacked or getting the ass kicked out of him, or his wallet or his cell phone lifted and him left bleeding in an alley. And I wonder if that would change him, or if he's just so incredibly stupid that wouldn't change him at all. I'm just alert to such extraordinary public lying. Now, he might believe that, but to think that black people are regular, it's not true. Joe, I think he's the kind of guy that has somebody that helps him wipe. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not. He can't. He's not. No.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a
Don't let
shame.
guys like that get you down. He's not.
No, what gets me down is the perception that is allowed to float around out there in public, and it's so damaging and so insidious that it's preventing us from getting anywhere. It's just preventing us from getting anywhere.
I feel for the good citizens of Minneapolis and St. Paul that have to live with this kind of attitude. These are the voters that voted in Mary. They voted in Ilhan. They do think that all cops are evil and killers and do daily evil things. And I feel sorry for you folks.
But you saw the film of this moron sled being towed down the park.
I did.
Well, the crowd enjoyed it. I mean, these are, as I said yesterday, maybe it's no wonder at all why we have the people elected that we have.
Those are your voters. Yep.
It's just no wonder at all.
Yep.
I got a note from Scott from Inver Grove, who, curiously enough, has a connection to this terrible triple homicide in Coon Rapids the other night.
Mm-hmm.
It was a woman died, her son died, and her husband. This was late, I think it was Friday or Saturday in Coon Rapids. They were killed at home. And the murder's been tied to illicit drug dealing by one of the victims and a demand for money by the gunman.
Is this the guy that poses the UPS driver?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Alonzo P. Mingo of Fridley was charged Monday afternoon with, it didn't take the coppers long to find this guy, did it? Alonzo P. Mingo of Fridley was charged Monday afternoon with 3 counts of second-degree intentional murder in connection with the killings that occurred midday Friday at a house in the 200 block of 94th Avenue, according to the Anoka County Sheriff's Office. Will that come under a More Realities purview, or will that remain in Anoka County?
That's Anoka.
Sounds pretty north.
Yeah.
Mingo remains in jail in lieu of $5 million bail. He appeared now. If he goes over there and he's demanding money, and the money's not to be had, so he starts shooting people, but there were present at the time 2 children younger than 5.
Oh my goodness.
And he did not shoot them. But you can reasonably conclude that this idiot has a long criminal record. This couldn't be his first rodeo to go at a house and kill 3 people.
Right.
Doesn't start that way.
No.
The 3 victims were identified by the sheriff's office as 42-year-old Shannon Youngworth, her son, 20-year-old Jorge Reyes Youngworth, and her husband, 39-year-old Mario A. Trejo Estrada. And that's where the email from Scott from Inver Grove weighs in. As I suspected, her husband was involved with trafficking drugs, and this was no routine home invasion. The thugs came looking for money and didn't care who died while on their quest. The 20-year-old son, who I believe was not involved with the illegal activities, had the misfortune of being texted by his employer to stay home that day for lack of work as a landscape helper.
Oh, man.
The CP, meaning Scott CP, actually taught this young man as a student in 6th grade. She said he was a delightful kid, and she was heartbroken to hear this news. And also, he said his daughter alerted him to the death of this woman, and he has been acquainted with them for over 15 years. She worked for many years at a local eatery that is known for serving complimentary white, not yellow, popcorn to its patrons. I don't know what that means. There must be some popular spot in town where the popcorn is known to be white. And anyway, that's where the dead woman worked. And it turns out we have listeners who can pinpoint an identity with this family. The kid, the 20-year-old kid, he gets a text, "Don't show up for work today," so he stays home. Isn't that a shame? Well, the whole thing's a shame. The whole thing is pathetic.
It's senseless. Absolutely senseless.
They all are. And chances are this guy might as well have been in jail, but was not.
These people like this that commit these crimes really think that they're not going to be caught.
You know what? They're just really, really stupid people. Just as dumb as can possibly be.
They're the kind of people that make cardboard third precincts.
Yeah, exactly. They're just
skid them down a hill with no snow.
They just don't see the big picture.
And what was the financial gain out of this?
In this case, it was zero, which is why he shot, apparently. His money was not available to him.
Wow.